PGA Tour versus LIV has been going on for so long, but with LIV's new announcement of changing their format, could this be the end of the great divide in professional golf? Only time will tell, but we're going to talk about it here on Golf with Mitch. All right, LIV Golf has been a whirlwind. We are going back to do a brief synopsis of what's been going on. The Spark Notes. It all started, this saga, in 2022 when LIV Golf officially launched their first tournament in London in June of 2022. 48 players, shotgun start, no cut, 54 holes. Now, keep in mind, 54 in Roman numerals is LIV, LIV. Anyway, move forward. In 2022, in June, some of the key players that defected from the PGA Tour: Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Patrick Reed, Cam Smith. A couple months later, since those players were banned from the PGA Tour, a few months later, in August, they filed an antitrust lawsuit. In that same month, the PGA Tour announces a $100 million prize increase with elevated events. We fast forward even more to June 2023. So 1 year later, the shocking news: the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and LIV's PIF announced plans to merge under the new entity, NewCo. Most players are blindsided, and ever since then, there's been discussions. Now, there have been a lot of things going on back and forth. Negotiations have paused due to many different factors, including political factors, player pushback, things like that. But since 2022, there's been this great divide in professional golf, and the people who lose in this situation are us golf fans, because we want the best players to be playing together. But LIV just announced this big change in their format where they are going to 72 holes, a 4-day 72-hole tournament, just like the PGA Tour. Now, there are a few different thought processes with that. LIV Golf was formed to be a disruptor, right, to differentiate from traditional golf, but now they're kind of going back to it. So that's interesting. But the reasoning is to get official world golf ranking points, because for the last few years, any player on PGA or on LIV has not been able to get official world golf ranking points. And that's important because those are the points that determine whether or not you get into certain majors. Now, to clarify, there are 4 majors every year in professional golf. None of them have any affiliation with the PGA Tour outside of official world golf ranking points. The Masters is an invitational put on by a private club, Augusta National Golf Club. They invite people. Now, they have stated that if you fall within certain rankings in the official world golf rankings, you get invited to play in Masters. So there are the best players playing in that tournament. But it's an invitational from just a separate entity. Then you have the U.S. Open, which is put on by the USGA, totally separate from the PGA Tour. It's the same organization that puts on the US Am, Mid-Am, all those type of amateur tournaments are all part of the USGA. So the U.S. Open is a true open where they have qualifiers for anyone who wants to play in pre-qualifiers and try to earn their way into the U.S. Open. Again, there are some exemptions based on your past tournament wins, official world golf rankings, so on and so forth. The PGA Championship is associated to the PGA of Americas. Don't get that confused with the PGA Tour. Those are 2 totally separate entities as well. So, same thing. Official world golf ranking points, exemptions based on performance are how you get into the PGA Championship. There are also PGA pros who are like your course pros, teaching professionals, things like that, who are part of the PGA of Americas Association, that aren't part of the PGA Tour, but are still professionals who are able to earn their way into the PGA Championship. And then the British Open, or the Open Championship, is put on by the RNA. Similar to the US Open, there are pre-qualifiers and ways for anyone to earn their way into that tournament because it is a true open. So the PGA Tour has no major tournament. They have a flagship event that they like to promote as one of their top events, which is the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass, and that tournament is very great as well. It has its own history, its own storyline, so on and so forth, but it's not a major event. We have 4 majors. PGA Tour is not associated with any of them. But LIV golf players are now scrambling because they do not earn official world golf ranking points to be able to earn their way into these tournaments. Now, us as the casual golf fan, that's what we want. Those 4 tournaments every year, we want the best of the best playing in them. Whether they're LIV golfers, PGA Tour golfers, you get Bryson DeChambeau winning the US Open at Pinehurst 2 years ago. He's a LIV golfer. He didn't play in any PGA Tour events, but he won the US Open. Awesome story. Loved to see it. There are so many nuances with that tournament, especially with him versus Rory down the stretch, a LIV golfer versus a PGA golfer. The best of the best in those 4 tournaments is what we want to see. So I think this is a good change for LIV because it gives their players more opportunities to get in. But playing 72 holes is kind of going against what they originally were founded to be, a disruptor, right? So who knows? This could continue with, this could help with the negotiations between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf. It would be great to have them competing together again, week to week, not just in the 4 majors. But to be honest, not every player plays in the PGA events every week anyway. Like the top pros, the PGA Tour did come out with their signature events where every player on tour is required, if qualified, for their signature events or their elevated events where they have to play in a certain number of those, but there are still some players that take breaks or take 1 or 2 of those events off. So week to week, you may not even get an entire full field anyway. The only time you really get a full true field is during the 4 majors. And so that's what I think is the most important. But it would be great to have the 2 entities still come together, have some form of team golf with what LIV brings to the table. I will say, I think I've only watched 1 LIV golf event, and it was only 1 round of that event, and it was their very first round years ago. I don't know why, I've just never really been drawn to LIV golf. The biggest factor for me is the shotgun start. When I follow a golf tournament, especially on a Sunday when it's the final round and you're wanting to see who wins, I like to know what's going on the golf course, especially the last 3 holes. 16, 17, 18 are the most important things for me when watching a golf tournament, to see which holes are coming up and if people have scoring opportunities on those holes. If they're a gettable par 5 or a tricky par 3 down the stretch where we see the leaders coming up to those events or those holes and seeing where they stack in the field and say, oh man, they've got this eagleable par 5 coming up, or this very, very difficult par 3 where if they hit it into the water, they could be toast. With a shotgun start, you don't get that. The winner could have their winning moment on hole 3 or on hole 14. So it's hard to follow the storyline, especially since it's all going on at the same time. There could be two players putting for the win at the same time. And so it's really tricky to manage that. I've never been to a LIV event, but I imagine it would be a nightmare trying to follow the tournament, especially on a Sunday when you're trying to see who's going to win the event. Because it could be anywhere on the course. So I think that's my biggest gripe with LIV as far as following it goes. The team format I think is a great idea. I just have never really been into it. I just haven't followed it. I watch the PGA Tour week to week a lot more. Never really watched LIV, but I do really enjoy a lot of the LIV golfers. I love Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm, Joaquin Niemann. I really enjoy watching. He's a great golfer. So seeing those guys playing in the majors is awesome. I love that they still do that. And I like this change that LIV has made to give them the opportunity to play in more of these events if they can get world golf ranking points. Now, that's not guaranteed. This is a change that they made, I think, in hopes of getting their tournament sanctioned to earn those points. Rory made some comments yesterday about that, and he doesn't think that they will be getting points. He said, I think it's a peculiar move because I think they could have gotten ranking points with 3 rounds. I don't think 3 rounds versus 4 rounds is what was holding them back. It certainly puts them more in line with traditional golf tournaments. So he's right. It puts them in line with more traditional golf tournaments. I don't know exactly what he means by that was what was holding them back. I think it definitely does because that's the biggest difference. They're playing 2 different formats. The amount of golf being played is very different between 3 rounds and 4 rounds. How many times do we see the leader after 3 rounds melting down and losing it in the 4th round? So that's just a different baseline. You can't judge those 2 formats the same. If they play the same amount of holes, whether or not it's a shotgun start, I think that's a way to earn those points. It makes them a lot more level playing field. Now, he goes on to say, and when I say he, I mean Rory, he says something about the field too. He says, yeah, I think what's hard is you've got the LIV guys and say potentially they get world rankings, but because of their strength of fields are going to be so weak, because a lot of these guys have fallen already in the rankings because they have not had ranking points for so long. I don't think if their ranking points are really going to benefit them. So he's got a point there. Now he says weak fields. I don't think he means by the players. He kind of points out here it's because they haven't gotten world golf ranking points. So they're playing against people who have dropped in the world golf rankings because they just haven't been earning points because they are not allowed to compete on the PGA Tour. And so now if they do get access to earning points, they're going to be playing against other low-ranked players. And so their opportunity to jump in those rankings won't be there. He's got a point. I just think this is a move that I hope will merge the 2 events or the 2 tours just so that the players can make sure that they are in the top events, and those are the 4 majors. That's what I want to see. That's the big thing. Now, we'll see how that turns out in this upcoming season. We do have PGA Fall still going on. Tomorrow is the first round of the tournament in Mexico. We've talked a lot about the bubble players, so tune in for that. We'll do a little course preview tomorrow and what to watch for, as well as keeping up with the rounds as they go on. But that's it for today in the world of golf. We'll chat more tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.